right, we should be starting now. So, hello, welcome to our October Trustlines community call. I'm Tadu. I'm the Communications and Community Manager at BrainBot, contributing to Trustlines. With me here we have Andreas, and he can introduce himself as well. This month we're going to be going through some new updates in the ecosystem with some new content, and yeah, we can get started on that with Andreas.
Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing good. As Sato mentioned, my name is Andreas. I do project management related to what we contribute to Trustlines. I'd like to show you some new development that we have been doing around the app. So we try to do incremental release within the Trustlines app. We're currently preparing an internal test release for two new features. The one feature being that people can send people now links with a Trustlines request. So up until now, onboarding people onto Trustlines was a little bit user unfriendly because either they had to have the app already or you sent them the link www.trustlines.app and then they had to download it, etc. What we did now is we implemented deep links in a way that if you send a person a link out of the Trustlines app directly with a Trustlines request, they can click on it, and if the user does not have the app, it will automatically open the Play Store or the App Store. Download the app if you want it, and then you'll go into a dedicated onboarding screen where it is clear that you have been invited. The invitee would like to make a Trustlines with you and have certain parameters on this trust line. Then you can confirm if the inviter then accepts, then you basically are onboarded on Trustlines and have Trustlines directly with him. The second feature being our bill splitting feature of the app. I know that this has been something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time. In the past, it was only possible to do payment requests to one person. We now made it so that you can actually have up to 15 people in one payment request, and you also have a good overview of these payment requests. Since it's not released on the app yet, it will be released hopefully today or start early next week internally, and then we will test it and then push it to the public so that you guys can also test it. But I would like to show you some of the screens. So I'm just going to share my monitor real quick.
So the deep links allow people to actually send a Trustline request to people that don't already have the app installed. That's pretty nice.
Both. It allows you, so like deep link is just the technical description. Basically, it just it delivers some information, and you can basically then click on the link, and you go to the web page that basically checks: do you have the phone or do you not? Do you have the app or do you not have the app? If you have the app, then it'll open normally in the app. But if you don't have the app, it basically has the information where to send you. It sends you to the App Store. You then click on download in the App Store, and then your phone will still remember that you clicked on the onboarding link, and it will, once the app is downloaded, you will basically come to a specific screen in the app that is reserved for this onboarding flow. So let me just share my screen real quick. Okay, so this is me now inviting somebody, and I'll just invite him in beer. I'll create my Trustlines just normally as I can create the Trustlines currently. Then I'll choose a partner, and then I can click on shares link. I write somebody, hey, I want to create a Trustline with you, and then I basically have sent it to him. The receiving part, when they click on the link, they will have this screen, and the app will open. And then it will say you received an invitation that holds a Trustlines request. Let's get started. So this is different to the normal starting screen. You'll then do sign up, agree, and once you entered everything, you'll basically just need to approve what the person that sent you the invite has suggested. So you received a Trustlines request through a link. Please review this, and then again approve it, and then you'll have the success, and the inviting person will receive a confirmation that you basically are onboarded, and send him a Trustlines request that he then can accept, and then they would be onboarded. It's just it's, in my opinion, it's much easier to do it via the link and have the Trustlines request embedded directly, rather than first onboarding the person through just sending him a link to the app and then doing the QR code scans, etc. That's just a easier way to do it.
Yeah, much more user friendly.
Yes. And then the bill splitting. So this is the bill splitting. These are just the starting mockup screens. The entry point will be in the at the request button. People can enter the total amount that they want to have. They'll do a description. For last night was fun, so when they went out to dinner or something like that. Click on next, and then you can actually click on split bill. This will bring you to the flow of splitting a bill with people. Once you click on start, you can either add yourself, because sometimes you also, like if you go out and eat dinner, you also eat. So you'll have to add yourself too. So you add yourself, you add another person, check the sums here. Okay, we can see 2121. He actually only paid 10, so that is the total sum. Then the numbers are not accurate because it's just mockups. Yeah? So review, and then we added now with this feature, we also added different background screens for different screens. So basically, blue for reviewing. Are you sure? Is this correct? Yes, it is. So send it. A successful screen that it was sent, and then you can also basically see if a request has been paid or if it has not been paid based on the color. So we'll see here an event that is orange. We can see here, okay, John didn't pay it yet. We're still waiting for it. But if we, for example, go into this one, we can say, okay, John did pay it. And we can also go to the reference payment, basically click on it and see, okay, John sent it. Why did he send it? It was a bill splitting app, etc. So yeah, this is currently being implemented. So close before finished. We were hoping to actually show it live today in this call. We're going to do a quick internal testing and then push both of these features out next week to everybody else to be used. Yeah. And hope we get a lot of feedback on it.
Yes. So remember to follow Trustlines Found and the Trustlines app on Twitter to see when the new version is pushed and released. And I think you had something other new, interesting new stuff.
Yeah, so like a lot of people have always asked for like white paper content. We had like documentation around trust lines, but it was like the bare minimum of documentation. Maybe that's the right wording. That was always because at the time where basically Trustlines moved to this nonprofit foundation, there was a white paper, an old white paper that needed to be basically split out the use case and the technical components, because nonprofit foundation is interested in the technology and wants to promote the technology, but does not want to directly be in charge of developing or pushing use cases. So we needed to split that a little bit apart, and we basically finished this. I'll share my screen again. Hello.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, got it. So again, on the docs page, you can go to white paper content. This is the new section added, and then how Trustlines works. And then we have more comprehensive information on what Trustlines is, what the abstract is, what's the idea come from, the overview, how to pay with debt, where does this actually come from, the definitions of the individual components, overview of, like, we have this in the PowerPoint slides that we presented and also share. You can also download them on the docs page. Also now have it in written form, how it works in a way that it is also interoperable with different models. You can have centralized models and decentralized models all on the Trustlines protocol. Then some decisions on why do we have 47 currency networks? What types are there? What's the open source behind it? Why blockchain? How does the delegation service work? What is the Trustlines protocol technology stack? Some detail about the blockchain and the ideas that we have. What kind of consensus algorithm are we using? For what do we intend people to hard fork? Description about the relay server, some description about the smart contract system, which includes the currency networks, the identity contracts, and then some words on the client library, and then also some um, starting points towards explaining the crypto economics of the Trustlines protocol, going into what fees we currently have, being it the Trustlines blockchain transaction fees, so aka gas, or the delegation fees, or the imbalance fees, um, describing the interest, having some description about the validators on the blockchain, the bridge, the auction, etc. Yeah. So this is actually quite comprehensive. A lot of work got into this, and it should clarify a lot of questions in future. And if you point people to this part of the documentation page, it should actually answer most of the questions.
Yes, and this is still just one part. There is still much more to come on this as on the white paper content as well.
Yes, we want to have a more better overview of like what the motivation behind Trustlines is. So explaining a little bit about different monetary systems, etc. But then also explaining the road to adoption. So like, what can you do? What are there for different use cases? Like, we already started with time banking. We already started with bill splitting. We had the documentation on how you can do bill splitting. Now we added the feature for bill splitting. And now we want to also explain what we think you could do additionally to time banking and bill splitting with trust lines, um, and giving examples for that. So this is going to come in the next weeks.
Well, thank you, Andreas, for all those new uh, advances. What's happening in the ecosystem, and as we always do on the community calls, we have an AMA section where we will be answering any questions from the community. If you don't know, we are doing these community calls every month, and there is always an associated post at the Trustlines forum where you can post questions ahead of time. You can join us at the live stream and post questions at the YouTube chat. And currently, we have a couple of questions posted at the forum already, so we can get started with the first one from Farsad. How do you compare your sidechain solution with ZK rollups and optimistic rollups? So this is much more of a question for you.
Yes, definitely interesting question. At the time where we launched the Trustlines blockchain, both of these alternatives were not really considerable because they were not any near in a state that you could actually rely on them. Like currently, they have been implemented in some use cases, and I think in future it definitely could be an alternative to sidechains. I don't know if it's an alternative for the Trustlines blockchain because we already like launched the chain. There has been work done on it, and communities should form. And then changing to a different setup takes also work. And the question is, does the community want to have this? Yeah, we would have to talk about that, and we should also like have some time and to see if these uh, yeah, new solutions work the way that they are expected. Yeah. But back in the day where we launched the Trustlines blockchain, or we like talked about the Trustlines blockchain, um, both of these options were just not viable for us. I hope that answers the question. If not, we have someone on the team that found that answer quite interesting and would not have any problems to talk more about that topic. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, one of the key points of why the Trustlines blockchain was created was to have low fees for the users, for the end users. So whenever you include rollups and especially ZK snarks or something, that usually increases the amount of fees needed, and that's something that it's important to be kept at a low level. But of course, solutions like that can be very useful for certain use cases, and there are could be users who could be more interested in using those. So maybe some of them could be also integrated using Trustlines blockchain. All right, let's see. We have another question at the forum, which is from Invest. How do you plan to increase demand for the Trustlines network tokens? And for those who don't know, there are two Trustlines tokens. There's the Trustlines Network Coins (TLC), which is the native token of the blockchain, Trustlines blockchain, and there's the Trustlines Network Token (TLN), which is a token on the Ethereum chain, and it's basically a way to distribute more tokens to a wider audience, and those can be converted to TLC, but not the other way around. So that's a bit of a premise on uh, Andreas answering what's the plan to increase the demand.
Yes. Good name. Let me quickly think some more. Okay, so token and coin, a topic that has been reoccurring multiple times, and it appears to be then therefore a very important topic. And we agree. So, like, how do we make the Trustlands token more usable or the demand higher that people use it? So, we're probably going to think about introducing. The question is, what can you do with the Trustlands network token? Currently, you can only use it to stake in the auction, and you can transfer it to the Trustlands blockchain. Transferring it to the Trustlands blockchain is not very interesting because you have enough TLC on the Trustlands blockchain to pay transaction costs for. Staking for the auction is interesting because people have done it in the past, and we basically replaced the need to have Ethereum with TLN, which most people have gained free or very cheap due to the Merkle drop that's ongoing. So the third use of the token should be in future some DAO setup in which, since the foundation still has 10 million Trustlands network token for further distribution, it could be possible that the foundation would be interested then to put these rest tokens, basically the tokens that are still there for distribution, into that DAO, and let people vote on specific things where they think the tokens should go through. So something like Gitcoin grants could be possible. Yeah? So the Trustlands network token should have three uses. It should be used for staking. It should be used for governance model, and it should be used to be transferred to the Trustlands blockchain to pay for transaction costs. Making it interesting to be transferred to the Trustlines blockchain, we would need to think about how we actually do this. So, how do we generate a need on the Trustlines blockchain to transfer tokens to the Trustlines blockchain so that you can pay transaction costs for? And this could go into, like, there are different solutions to it. I know within Ethereum, there's currently the suggestion that you, for example, create a shortage, or you could generate you could create a shortage of TLC so that the demand of transferring TLN to the Trustlands blockchain increases. And that's maybe something that we would look into. How this is going to be done, we don't know yet. In Ethereum, there are some solutions to this. For example, there's the solution that part of the transaction fee gets burned rather than going to the validator. That would be an option, maybe. But we would need to see. We will also in close collaboration with validators. So if anybody has a suggestion, please let us know. But the overall goal is it that the Trustlines token is demanded in a way that it gets transferred to the Trustlines blockchain or used as a governance model on the Ethereum chain.
Yes. And if you don't have TLN yet, go check out, because there was a snapshot taken in the December of 2019. Over hundreds of thousands of Ethereum addresses were included. Check out docs.trustlines.network for a guide on how to claim your TLN from the Merkle drop. There's also a guide for converting TLN to TLC if you're interested in that. And then we also have another new question from our good friend Jacob. Hello, Jacob, at the YouTube chat. So, have you considered looking into using something like Bright ID for adding somewhat trusted layer of strangers that you might be interested in opening channels with?
Um, so we have Elisa on the team, and Elisa is a very huge fan of Bright ID, also contributor to Bright ID, and she had a lot of ideas of how we could include Bright ID into trust lines and how we could do that. Yeah, so like I'm not specifically sure if she ever mentioned exactly what you're just suggesting, Jacob. I think it's a nice idea actually. We could think about that. One thing that could be possible, the question of the validator auction. So how are the validator auctions going to take place, etc.? That's something that we always have to talk about every 9 months because the validator auction is supposed to happen every 9 months. And since currently the process is very manually over Twitter, collecting email addresses and then checking if they're within the friends of friends circle that we have, we could maybe use Bright ID to make this easier for the next validator auction. Maybe we should open a forum post on that and have some discussion in the forum about that. I'm sure Alisa is open to create such a forum and maybe fuel that discussion around what we could actually do with Bright ID and Trust Lines in the forum.
Yes, and as one example that we've used already on some of the use cases is, for example, in the time credits, is that you can have an entity on Trustlines that is a central kind of a hub, which other people connect to, with that can then help add this kind of a trusted layer where you have a single entity uh, where others connect, and then that can already increase um, paths to strangers.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually that's a topic that's being described a little bit more in detail in the new white paper content that was published today.
Yes. So right now we don't seem to have any other questions. We can check out if we receive another one, but overall, I'm gonna remind you all to subscribe to the Trustlines blog for all the news. Follow uh, Trustlines Found on Twitter, and we'll be doing the community calls each month. So join us for the next one in November.
Yeah. Something to all the members of the Trustlines network. Yeah, uh, be sure to give us feedback in any type. I see a lot of discussion going on in the Trustlines network Telegram channel, and there are some really good ideas there. Also, some good like feedback, even if it's like something like, "Why did you guys do a Merkle drop? You should have done it differently." So it's like criticism, which is fine and also good. Um, the Zoom call is always open on my side. So anybody who wants to talk about stuff needs to ping me, and then I'm happy to jump in Zoom calls with people to discuss it and get your guys' feedbacks. So you are part of the Trustlines network. Feel invited. That's it. I'm good.
All right. Looks like there's no other questions. Um, Happy that Elisa didn't pay people for questions. So, all right. Thank you for watching.